All right. We are back with another edition of the Harold Katz podcast. It's great to be back with Keeper Poppers, coach, of course. And boy, do we have a special guest for you. It is SEC legend, currently with the Auburn Tigers, Coach Bruce Pearl. And now I'm going to kick the can over to Coach Katz to take over what's probably going to be an incredible conversation to listen to. So, Coach, go for it.
I can't even begin to tell you how great this is for me. Hey, you guys, let me know when Bruce is here. Coach, when you're here, just let me know when you're here, because for me, this is, let me think. He'll probably know as well as I would. 40 years in the making, maybe? No, it can't be that long. Bruce,
Harold, I'm right here, and I am absolutely happy and blessed to be with you.
It's so awesome. We used to pal around in, I think we first met in Minnesota, in that hotel over there, the lobby. Remember that? I had much less gray hair. I think was that Minnesota? Was that? It might have been before that. Duke, Michigan. It might have been before that.
Yeah, You know what? I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, Harold. So, honestly, it's.
we were like lobby hawks at the time. I think you were in Iowa at that time.
I might have been in Iowa. Yeah.
At Iowa. Let's get right to it. First of all, thanks so much for doing this. I know you're pressed and all that. And it's just awesome. One, because for what it is, you are our national, from a Jewish perspective, you're a national level guy for us. And as I know from our experience when you were off in basketball, I was trying to get you a gig, if you remember that.
Yep,
a speaking gig with the Federation, which you ended up getting later on. But I wanted everybody, I knew who you were, and I wanted everybody to know who you were.
You knew me before I got to Auburn and Tennessee, and before the rest
Southern
of the world
Indiana, and Southern Indiana. So it was a big deal. It's a big deal for me to have you here. We really try to do kind of deep dive X and O stuff and really get into a coach's life and what he has to go through. But from my perspective, as a Jew, talking to another Jew, this is a huge deal for me. And I can't thank you enough for doing it. It's awesome.
My pleasure.
All right, let's get to played high school football, right? Didn't you play high school football and get hurt or something like that in Boston? Wasn't that it? I'm trying to remember.
You talking about myself?
Yeah, about you. Yeah, let's go back. Let's start where we started.
So here's the deal. When I grew up in Boston. I was born in 1960. So I lived through forced busing. I lived through a lot of racism, a lot of anti-Semitism. Boston was a great town to grow up with, great ethnicity, great food, great different cultures. So you got to appreciate, the Irish South Boston, the Italian North End, the Jewish South End, and Mattapan and those areas. But it wasn't exactly a melting pot. People weren't exactly, getting along as well. And there was a lot of fear and unknown. Sports kind of brought things together. I didn't care what color you were or whether you went to church or synagogue. Could you guard somebody?
That's right.
Could we stay on the floor? Could we stay on the playground? Because you know what? Next, you lose and you got to wait for an hour to play again. Right. And nobody, liked to do that. And so I learned very quickly that in sports we were colorblind. And, up until the time I was about 14 or 15 years old, I was one of the better athletes in town. It just flat out identified me. I played quarterback. I batted fourth. I pitched. I was the point guard. And honestly, I think God was like, no, I'm not so sure this is what direction we're going to go in here. Because I was not very well rounded. I was defined solely by my ability to beat you on the court or on the field or in anything that we did. And I literally had my first knee injury when I was a freshman in high school. And from that point on, I obviously was never, ever, ever the same. I was a good high school first baseman. I couldn't play basketball because I was injured. I couldn't play football. I mean, it was a real. Man, you talk about a defining moment in my life. You talk about that was my whole identity. But it made me do other things. I became class president. I got into school play. I went to Boston College, walked on, got cut, but Tom Davis recognized something in me and turned me into a student manager, director of promotions, like undergraduate assistant coach, and when I was a senior at Boston College, thinking that I would never, dreaming I was going to do anything for Boston College basketball in the early days of the Big East to get into coaching. I was just doing it because I loved it and loved to compete and travel with a team and did all these different things. But when he took the Stanford job, and I'm 21 years old, a senior, he called me to his house. He said, I want you to come with me. I was doing so much for him just because I loved doing it, not because I realized I was of any value to him. And Dr. Tom Davis was the one that got me started in coaching.
Right. So you go with him to Stanford, and then he comes to Iowa. You're there for Roy Marble's shot, right? That famous Marble shot. Yep. And at least my co-hosts don't know this, but you coached PJ Armstrong in college too, right?
Yes.
So I mean, this is kind of cool. And I wanted to really get to your duties as an assistant, and then we'll get really more into what was going on head coaching wise after that.
Sure. Well, I mean, the early Boston College days took them from the ECAC into the Big East. And, Boston College and that crew doesn't get nearly as much talk in the Big East as, of course, John Thompson would, or Syracuse or Villanova or UConn even. But it really transformed Boston College as a university and as an athletic program. Of course, now they're in the ACC. We go out to Stanford, and we left behind Howard Wright, and Todd Lichty. Todd Lichty was a good pro.
Great
player. And left that in pretty good shape. Got it credible, and then took over George Raveling's Iowa team, which was incredibly talented with Brad Lohaus and Jerry Wright and the Vanilla Gorilla Al Lorenzen, B.J. Armstrong, Roy Marble, Eddie Horton, Kevin Gamble. I mean, it was an incredible Bill Jones from Detroit, just an incredible team, and got one game from the Final Four. Vegas, we were up 16.5 against Vegas in 86-87 out in Seattle, and didn't go. I was with Tom for 6 years and made 5 NCAA tournaments with him, and then it was off to, when I was 32 years old, to Southern Indiana to start doing my own thing. So that was sort of my track. That was my career. And if you want to ever pay me a compliment, tell me my teams play like Tom Davis's teams, because Tom Davis told me 2 things when I left. I think this is great advice for coaches. When you go start coaching and you take your own job, do what you know how to do. We all beg, borrow, and steal. I'm looking at 5 out right now with Miami and thinking about maybe adding some of that to my transitional package, especially if the big is trailing. But the bottom line is, do what you do. And you can't keep bugging and borrowing from everybody else's. Put it together, you have your own system. And then the second thing Tom Davis said is be yourself. That way you're always going to be authentic. Like, I am so different than Dr. Tom Davis personality-wise.
100%.
Don't try and be me, be you. And those 2 things, do what I did, because we've taught you well. Make it your own, but do what I did. But be yourself. I think that was great advice.
Right. So let's step back from the assistant coaching thing. I just want to follow up on that. So because when I watched you play at your Division II Southern Indiana, you won the national championship, right?
Yep.
Right. So but I think because I saw you at a Final Four, and you told me something like you'd lost in the championship or something, or right near the championship.
My second year in coaching as a head coach, 33 years old, we took Southern Indiana to the NCAA finals and lost to UC Bakersfield, Cal State Bakersfield. And then the following year, my third year as head coach, we won the national championship.
Right. So here's my question for you.
Yeah.
So Dr. Tom is this passive kind of, you're as animated probably. I mean, his famous assistants like you and Gary Williams, just all animated cats, and he's totally different than that. Now, the question I have, you both kind of took the press, although you did it different. But he was known for that kind. What exactly did you keep from Dr. Tom, and what did you steal from somebody else? And what did you do with his stuff that you've made different? In other words, I know who I learned from, and I changed it to fit the personnel I had, because the Jewish kids just weren't going to be able to do what other kids do. Yeah. We have to skin the cat in a little different way. I would even say to my critics, and believe me, I have a lot of them, that you and I probably run different stuff. Although I did press a lot, I wanted to get back to that with you. But we probably run different stuff. Like, you're not totally in agreement with what I do. It's like, we don't. But you're a phenomenal basketball coach, and so it doesn't matter how you do it. It's matter what you get from it. So my question for you is, what'd you do different from Dr. Tom Stuff, or did you really stay kind of? You took his advice. Do what you do, what we do, right? What'd you do different that made you a little different?
Well, I think the things that we did the same, where we agreed was this. Like, one of the hardest things to do defensively is just get back in transition. And so understanding that, Tom was very committed to up-tempo basketball, very committed to putting three guys on the baseline as fast as anybody in the country. We're almost always going to get a rim runner, and we're almost always going to get two guys and running the baseline. And so therefore there'd be a rebound and a trailer. And so we very much were a point guard fast break. We outlet that ball to our point guard. Occasionally the guy that got it would take it, but really focus on advanced passing, putting pressure in the rim, and being 4 out at all times. And also where that tied in was either Tom being recognized as a player's coach or my being a recognized guy to give the guys freedom. In order to give them freedom and allow them to maybe advance pass and take some things early, maybe take some bad shots, so you've got to create more possessions in a game. So therefore, there's where the pressure defense lines up. So we're gonna push it. We're gonna attack the rim. We're gonna shoot it early in the clock. And the other team may very well be more patient. Of course, the other coach got to get credit for being a better coach because look how disciplined they are. Look at how good stuff they run. Bruce Pearl's teams are on the offense, so on and so forth. That's true. But hey, the shots that we may be taking may be better any shot than somebody that's going to run 25 seconds and get the ball to both sides of the floor. I love that. Let's get it to both sides of the floor. Why? If I can get it on one side of the floor and get a good shot and get a good backside rebound, I don't care about getting it to both sides of the floor. That's why those guys are in color commenting and not in coaching. But the other thing is I got to create possessions. So therefore, the press will speed the tempo. Actually, pressure defense could do too. You could slow it down and keep the ball in front and take a team like Kentucky or Kansas who want to go fast and slow them down. So pressure defense allows you to control tempo, either speed it up. Now, Tom Davis, he usually sped it up and, let the guys fly around a little bit, let them gamble a little bit. We wouldn't be as solid as a Dick Bennett, Bo Ryan drop back man-to-man team that, you're going to have to take 35 seconds just to get a decent shot. Well, that's going to put games in the 50s. We're going to extend. We're going to run, jump. We're going to gamble. We're going to ball watch. And our game's going to be in the 80s and the 90s.
Right. So
that philosophy we kept. Harold, the one thing we did differently, and I'll give you one more story on that. Yeah. Tom Davis was a phenomenal zone coach. He was a great, great zone coach. His one of his non-strengths was he wasn't a great man-to-man defensive coach. And one of his philosophies that he held, I guess, goes back to what I said about the Bennetts and the Ryans. He didn't want to play phenomenal drop-back defense because he didn't want you to have to take 30 seconds to get a shot. He actually wanted you to shoot it in the first 10 or 15 seconds. That's what he wanted. And so he purposely – but for me, I just didn't think that was going to be able to win championships. And I wanted to be a little bit better defensively. So I went and saw Bobby Huggins. Bobby Huggins took what Dick Bennett did as far as ball pressure, putting it on the side of the floor, keeping it on the side of the floor, denying the reversal, trapping the box, and I implemented that right away in my early Southern Indiana days. I still basically am a no-middle guy, still defensively. But I'd like to think that what we do right now, which is different than what Tom Davis did, much different, has been enabled me to be, I think, consistently successful. We're a pretty good drop-back defensive team.
Well, with who you are, I mean, Milwaukee did the same, Wisconsin, right? Or Wisconsin, Milwaukee, I think it was, or something like that.
Yeah.
And you did, it was constant ball pressure in the full court. When Tamir Goodman played for me, we wanted to get up and down because I wanted as many possessions as I could with a kid like that. And one of the things we did, I was talking to Mike Vining, who used to coach at Northeast Louisiana State. I don't think you were still at Iowa when they played you in the NCAA tournament. At Boston Garden, maybe.
I think you were gone. I wasn't at Iowa then.
Yeah, I think you were gone. It was when AC was there. And
yeah,
so,
I recruited AC and coached AC.
Right. So Mike played them, and he was telling me, because I wanted to get more position, so I was going to press. And he told me you just tell me if you agree with this. I mean, when you press, you're going to give up some buckets now, but you're going to get 2 runs a game for the most part. And those runs kind of can't be 10-8. They got to be like 15-2 or something, because you're going to give up points at the end of that. If you play that style, you have to be prepared to give up points. And you're going to get 2 runs. If you're any good at it, you'll get 2 runs, and they have to be distinctive. Fair?
Yes, for sure. But the other thing, too, about pressing and running is you got to be also willing to play your depth. And that's another thing that I kept from Tom Davis. I have 10 guys that have a double-digit minutes. And I don't shorten my bench in the playoffs or the NCAA tournament or in conference play or in March. I don't. I play 10. I play 9 or 10. And I believe very much in playing time being something that is consistent. It's rewarded over a long period of time, over practice season. Yes, I'll let a guy stay in a little bit if he's got the hot hand. Yes, we might make some adjustments, but I'm not going to go crazy. Yeah, sometimes on matchups, but you've got to be willing to play your bench if you're going to be committed to pressure defense. Because of turning it over, your pursuit is important. And if you're going to get the game faster, you got to be able to press it. Now, pursuing it, but the rules have changed now, Harold. Like right now, you can't trap anymore because of this, cone and because of the freedom of movement. So, look, we still play 94 feet. We harass you. Like Gary Williams always said about pressure. Even if you're not a full court pressure defensive team, what do you do when you get behind? Just call timeout and tell the kids to play harder?
Right.
He says you still need to have some form of pressure defense in your arsenal if you're going to have the ability to come from behind.
Right. So here's the thing on that. Let's go back to your half court for a second, like you were saying in the no middle. What's your one Achilles in that? I mean, you don't need to tell anybody.
Well, the Achilles would be saying when we're playing Alabama, and Nate Oates does such a great job of getting those guys to slot dive and slot drive. So they're spread, and if you're no middle and the ball's in the slot, halfway between the baseline and I'll say the top of the key, they're driving it downhill, attacking your front foot. So so you adjust. We don't play Alabama that way. Alabama that way. You got to square them up.
Right. So would not being able to deny ball reversal kill you?
No, we don't deny it anymore. We extend it. I mean, I'm definitely not we're not playing like that we used to. The players are too good right now getting downhill to just to overplay and say we're not ever going to give up middle. No. But I will. Here's the deal. I want to extend, and I want to make you catching the ball going away from the basket. So we're not going to let somebody come off, say, a double stagger or a pin down and catch you at the 3-point line and turn. We're going to extend that catch. We're going to deny that reversal, but not deny it to the point where you can't throw it. Deny it where we're going to let you catch it going away from the basket, not turning it.
So that's more. When I was coaching at Goucher College, our SID was Bob Huggins' nephew.
Okay.
He stopped by his early 90s. He stopped by and we were playing, passing lane denial. And he stopped by and said how open he was. And I'm sitting there going, well, so Coach Trevino wants to do it. And I'm like, Coach, we don't have Demar Johnson and Kenny Satterfield. It's a little different for Bob now. He has the athleticism to do that. We have like 2 white cats from Pikesville. So we're not going to be able, so.
Harold, one of the things that Hugs believed in is even if you are coaching a bunch of slow Jewish white guys with lots of hair in their legs, you if you're going to be you cut the court in half. In other words, you take one of the directions that they can go away from them, and then you're able to load up to the ball and rotate so on and so forth. So there's a part of me that obviously I like a defense that doesn't just sit back and react. I like a defense that's going to have the ability to dictate a little bit. And I don't think you have to be crazy and the most athletic team to do it as long as your system.
I agree with you. I take great solace in the fact that the best player in the world right now is probably the slowest person in his league, and he can barely jump over the free throw line. But he's the best player on the planet. And so it gives fat old guys like me some solace. But here's the thing. I'm very much like you. I've really gotten into Texas Tech, and they're no middle kind of telling you where to go. Yeah. And when you go there, we're and obviously we do some things with it that help our personnel. But I agree with you. I've never been one to say, well, because you're a Jew, you can't. You know what I mean? I just think that's look. It's pure crap to me, and the proof that it's pure crap is some of the great Jew coaches that have ever coached basketball, including Red Auerbach. Yeah. Like no matter, and I'm just going to toot our own Jew horn here for a second. No matter what industry we've been in, we've been able to adapt and succeed, and that's, I believe, is a survivor attitude. In other words, my dad's a survivor, so I always thought I could reach back to my kids that I'm coaching and know that there's something in there about them that's just, they've come from, we never could, or we never used to, or we were never able. And there's that, there's that edge to it. I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? I could do that.
Well, we were slaves. We were the original.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's the bottom line. And that's part of our heritage. And we were able to, with God's help, overcome slavery. And I do think that we recognize that we had to try, twice as hard to get half as much. And, part of the problem with anti-Semitism right now is because, even though we make up a very small part of the world's population, we make up a much larger part of the world's wealth. There is some jealousy there. Look, it wasn't given to us. We couldn't be landowners. There are a lot of things that we couldn't do because we were Jewish. All right, we adjust, we adapt. We do something different, and we figure it out. And that is about survival. That is about I was never comfortable, and I still am not, with necessarily the term we're God's chosen people, because I don't think we're any better than anybody else. It's just that I think God knew that keeping the scripture, keeping the commandments, keeping the Bible wasn't going to be easy. And so he had to give it to a group that may have been in the minority that was, tough enough, arrogant enough, or difficult enough to be able to survive.
Bruce, that was the choice. Bruce, that's the chosen part of it. Yeah. Like, you're not chosen for anything other than you're going to get beat up.
Yep.
And where you going to be when the Romans are gone and the Greeks are gone and Spain is gone and the Germans are gone, and you're still standing here and they're on the trash heap of history, and you, the cockroach of everybody's society.
I'm Israel Chai, baby.
Exactly right. Israel Chai. Exactly right. I mean, that's sort of the point. And I've never really bought into, flipping it back to basketball, I've never really bought into that we can't, you have a kid on your team like that, right? A Jewish kid. We've never, or your own child. I've never bought into that. We can't. I'm offended by it, because everywhere we look, we've done. Yeah. So we may have to.
And at the same time, Harold, we have a responsibility too. Like I spoke to the coaches of the Jewish Coaches Association, and I broke it down for them like this. These are all Jewish coaches. They're all trying to work their way up through GA positions and working their way on through. And I said, let me ask you a question. Do you have a friend that is there with you through the thick and through the thin, that will call you when you're down, that you enjoy celebrating when you're up? Somebody that is just so good-hearted and caring and loving. Is there a chance that guy's Jewish? Yeah. Might he be a mensch? I said, guys, we got to start being a little bit more proud of who we are. But with that, there's a responsibility too, because there's so many stereotypes that don't say those things about us, which aren't true. So by living that life, be that coach, be the coach that the players are willing to go to and wanting to go to because you care. The great Pat Dye at Auburn said you can coach them as hard as you love them. It's like our parents. Our parents could coach us as hard as they loved us, and they loved their children. And so therein lies also, I think, a responsibility, for Jewish coaches to run with that.
It's funny you say that, because Scott, because you're known as, when they look at you, they go, boy, that guy's nuts. You know what I mean? When they're watching you coach.
I am nuts.
Yeah, we were talking to Scott from Bellarmine, and he said this: "I'm not doing this to you. I'm doing this for you."
Right.
Right. And I think it's almost like intense. Okay, let's step it back for 1 second. When you first started coaching at Southern Indiana, what you're coaching today, how different are the kids? Different? Are the people who raised them different? Right? I mean, that's to me when they asked me about. I started recruiting in 1984. And they're like, well, kids are the same. The people raising them is a little different. Society's a little different. And what do you have to do differently now that you did either in Milwaukee or Tennessee or even when you were at Iowa?
Well, you're exactly right. The kids aren't that much different. They still want to be held accountable. They still want discipline. And Eric Spoelstra is showing that in the NBA.
Right.
We got two great coaches right now in the finals that hold their teams accountable and that are demanding. And you know what? Those young men love it because those are young men. They're still coaching. I'm not going to call them kids, but they're young men.
Right.
And what's changed have been the parents and the people that are around them. If your kid's not batting third and pitching, you're just going to put them on a different travel ball club at the age of 10. Yeah. Instead, my father said, "You're not batting third. Quit swinging at bad pitches. You're not pitching because you won't throw strikes."
Is that right?
That's how our parents
absolutely
held us accountable. Parents now too much want to fix everything. Look, adversity is not a terrible thing. Adversity reveals character. It doesn't necessarily build it, but it can build it. Let your kid go through some adversity. Let him struggle a little bit. Let him fail sometimes, and let him learn from some of that. But we don't. We isolate them. And we fix everything. We silver spoon them, and then they can't function. When things don't go their way, and so and then as a result, they don't have as much faith. Look, my kids were bar mitzvahed, and my kids have a pretty good identity. You know what? But I probably could have done a better job. But nobody did a better job than my grandfather. Nobody did a better job than my grandfather who kept kosher. Nobody did a better job than my grandfather who wrapped a filling. He was a plumber. He wasn't no smart learner. I don't even know if he ever graduated from high school, but he was obedient. He kept the Sabbath. He read the Bible. He worked hard to provide for his family. But there was a level of peer pressure on me as his grandson that I was going to do those things, and we've not asked. Wait a second. We've not encouraged. No, we've not forced our kids to get that religious training and have a foundation which we then can build on. Look, one of the things that scares me, flat out scares me. When I was born in 1960, it was 15 years after the Holocaust.
Right.
15 years. That's not a long time.
No.
So it was fresh. And then in 1967, when I'm 7 years old, Israel was almost wiped off the map. And then again in 73 in the Yom Kippur War. Our kids don't remember 1945, 1967, 1973.
Right.
And they don't recognize right now, listen, out at Cal Berkeley for the law school or whatever it was, they had this no Jew zone.
Is that incredible?
A certain place where Jews couldn't go. What? Really? Yeah. Really? How is that okay? And so even in the land of Israel, the world gets to decide, well, how much of it is supposed to be yours and how much of it isn't? Is it occupied? Is it disputed? Are you kidding me? Where else in the world does all these other countries get to decide whether we can build towns, which they want to settlement in Judea and Samaria? Why do they get to tell us that? But our kids don't understand that. We're lucky to be in this country. We are lucky to be Americans. I am grateful. I would give my life for this country at age 63. If I had to go to war tomorrow, I would volunteer. I kiss my wife and my children, my grandchildren goodbye, and I would give my life for my country for the opportunities provided me and my family. And so would my fathers be before us. I don't know if our young people would do that today. I don't.
Right. It's a shame. And I just want to pick up on something you said about, it's only called the West Bank because it was occupied by Jordan. and nobody. It's actually called Judea Samaria, and no Jews ever called it the West Bank. But the world
West Bank of the River Jordan. That's all. It's the West Bank.
That's
it. Jordan. That's all.
Which was a in the Balfour Declaration was a Jewish piece of land. That was the West and the East. So most people are uneducated when it comes to us. I also think, but thank God, my wife and I have an opportunity. We had a granddaughter born in Jerusalem a couple of weeks ago, so we're going to see her. Thank you. We're going to see her on Tuesday, and so I don't think people understand, Bruce, how easy it is for us to get on a plane that your grandfather couldn't just get on a plane and fly to Israel. I don't think people get that. My grandfather, he wouldn't even believe it. Like that you could just today get in. We take it for granted. It's why I'm so kind of proud of you, because you're so unabashedly Jewish. Like when they ask you, are you going to go meet, when Care wants you to go meet, you're like, what? I'm not doing. I mean, it's a basketball trip, dude. I ain't going to meet with some Palestinians. We're going to play basketball. We're going to, right? I mean, it's so great. It was so great. It's by the way, I'm interrupting this to tell you this, by the way. Your relationship with Tamir Goodman has been so powerful for the Jewish people, because here you have this, what he's doing for our people over there, especially relations between African Americans. And through basketball, what he's doing, incredible. And what you're doing, and the fact that I told Tamir when the two of you were together, it was just this monster pair of powerful Jews in basketball, Adam Silver notwithstanding, two of the most powerful Jews in basketball. And you were doing something together, your kindness to him and your willingness to let him help you on your trip is just phenomenal. As a guy who's known him his whole life, I know how much he values your friendship, and I want to thank you for that.
Tamir he's the young mensch, and I'm so proud of him. You and I we got a little bit more hair on our ass than he does.
A little bit.
And I'm so proud of him because he really is running with it. He owns it. He recognizes the opportunity he has, and as do we. We need allies. And again, I have asked my coaches. Look, nine out of 10 of my players are African American. Many of my coaches are African American. We have very open discussions. And one of the things that an African American coach who studied our culture a little bit appreciates the fact that they fought their way out of slavery too,
right?
And so did we. And they face the racism and the systematic racism that still exists. We made a lot of progress in that, but we obviously have a long way to go. So we clearly have a lot in common. And one of the things that people don't understand about Israel, they think everybody in Israel, looks like a white German or Polish stereotypical looking
Ashkenazi,
right?
Jew.
Yeah, Ashkenazi Jew. 3/4 of us are people of color.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to tell the difference between an Egyptian, a Jordanian, a Syrian, a Liberian, a Moroccan, and an Israeli. And you know what? And so when people go visit, when players go visit, they can't believe what they're seeing. They can't believe with their own eyes, people of color. I mean, there's no way you're Jewish. There's just no way. And bro, I am. We are. And so we're kind of in this thing together. Tamir's done a great job with that. I want to bring my players over there because it's such a great place to play.
That's why I was going to ask you.
Basketball is so good. The coaching is so good. They love the game. Great facilities. They pay on time. And the great thing about one of the great things about Israel is the people are so grateful to be back in the land. They're so grateful to be home. And as a result, they made it into the land of milk and honey. I'm embarrassed to say that my first trip to Israel was 2009. I wanted it to be in 1982 when I graduated from college. I wanted to go be on a kibbutz for a few years, but Tom Davis took the Stanford job. I went with him and I didn't get to go. But even since I've been there 6 times since 2009, I can't believe how much more beautiful it is, how much more successful it is, how much more diverse it is. They have literally made it into the land of milk and honey with some,
feel a little different.
You feel a little different, but they're not. You do feel look, I never felt unsafe at all. But you recognize that because of the leadership, the Jews and the Arabs and the Christians and the Muslims that are all there, let's just take Jerusalem, for example. At some point when the leadership decides they want to screw it up, we're going to be like Hatfields and McCoys again, and we're shooting at each other. You still, unfortunately, feel a little bit of that. That's why it's so important that our leadership said, no, peace through prosperity, growth. And one of the terrible things that the Oslo Accords did, and is it unfortunately built walls and fences around different communities, and there's not enough intermingling. The challenge is safety and security, and I get it. So, look, as long as the Palestinian Authority continues to pay for slay, and as long as that's the way it continues to be educated, and right now, unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Right.
We're not going to be completely, it's not going to be what it could be. But with the Abraham Accords countries coming in, and if our country would stop supporting the Palestinian Authority and support the Palestinian people,
you're so right.
We would have an opportunity to really make that place even better. And the walls would come down, and it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it. But no, it's wonderful to be there and be amongst your family. It is.
Bruce, I think that sort of swinging it back a little bit, that kind of, I'm gonna put my head down and get the job done kind of thing. Y'all want beat on us? No problem. We're still gonna be here. We're still gonna do our job. We're still gonna be successful at what we do. And if you want to be jealous or whatever, you go ahead. But that's not gonna stop us. That country is proof positive. That put your head down. They're going into bomb shelters. And they come out and they go right back to work. And they, we were an agricultural people, and we've turned into now a startup nation, and it's phenomenal. And this really does swing back to you as this Jewish, kind of like whether you like it or not, basically you're King Jew of the Jew basketball coaches right now.
Well, listen, I'm a prince, but I'm not a Kohen. All right, and I'm not a Levite. I'm a Israelite. All right, I'm just okay. My people, we're the ones that slept the rocks. Okay? we weren't the ones that were the architects. We weren't smart enough for that. But I'm blessed to be able to, obviously, blessed to be able to do the work. You had said something. I lost my train of thought. You had said something. What did you just say, Harold? I just said
that we're just going to be successful in whatever we do while you keep pounding on us anti-Semitically, or whatever you want to do, whether it's you here in America or it's them, our people there in Israel. But it's a matter of this. I wanted to hit this on you for a second.
I got this. Here's where I was going to go. One of the things that we had talked about, I wanted to make sure I got to this. I'm sorry to interrupt you on this, but
no problem.
But I got it. So I took my team to Israel last year. We took the Auburn basketball team. We hadn't talked about that a little bit. And it's always been my dream to take my team. I coached the Maccabi in 2009. I had Danny Grenfell was my best player. We beat Israel in the gold medal game in overtime, which is really hard to do. Thank God Israel doesn't lose at home very often. The problem was that I was getting screwed by the referees. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, they were calling the game. I couldn't get a freaking call. Like, dude, I'm Jewish too over here, right? I'm part of the diaspora.
That's it. Keep. You can address the Auburn trip. It's your floor. Go ahead. Do what you need to do. Go ahead.
Well, we had a great trip, and obviously we have a team minister that went with us, and an organization that came alongside us. Tamir helped put me in touch with a guy named Daniel Posner, and Daniel with Athletes for Israel.
Terrific.
Is just incredible, and I am so blessed to have met him a year ago. We were going with or without Daniel, or with or without Athletes for Israel, but he really helped make it possible, put us over the top. We work with Lee Miller in Complete Sports Marketing. She's
great. She's great. She is great.
She does the Battle for Atlantis. She recognized how special Israel was as far as the basketball. Lerone Fannin from the Cleveland Cavaliers help sort of an advisory capacity.
She's also great. I think Lee's going back with Syracuse, right?
We were going to go with Syracuse until Boeheim retired.
Right.
And now we're bringing Arizona and Kansas State. And they're both going to be going to Israel. And we've added in an Abraham Accords piece to it. The UAE has been very, very supportive
and open.
And very open about trying to help us bring those teams to Abu Dhabi. And so both Kansas State and Arizona are also on that trip going to go to the UAE. And I thank so much the ambassador from the UAE to the United States, incredibly helpful. And we're going to begin this little Abraham Accords Cup. And we're going to take teams from the United States. They're going to bring them to Israel. They're going to bring them to Abu Dhabi. They're going to come back. And we're going to show the politicians what's possible. That
right.
Through normalization of relations is really, really possible. And I tell you, ESPN came alongside us a year ago.
Right.
Jay Billis and Roxy Bernstein, David Seisler did a tremendous job helping us, put that all together. And I'm hoping that we get ESPN to go back with us. They're working on it right now. But it was an infomercial for Israel. It was an opportunity for Christian kids to go get baptized in the Jordan River and for them to see the Holocaust Museum and see the country. And they went home. My kids went home, allies for the state of Israel.
It's incredible. I think Tamir still has a relationship with a lot of your players that they talk about on Instagram or whatever it is. You did such a great job. I was so proud to watch every single day, even the days you were drilling and the day where you had to work a little bit to play. And so it was awesome what you did for our people. It was awesome what you did it's that bridge that Tamir's been trying to kind of, so to speak, bridge for the last 20 years. And that's what I meant by the two of you together were able to, with Danny and Bradley Dock, are just able to do things as this powerful, I don't even know, it's like a conglomerate of just, we're just not going to be defeated. You can do whatever you want. We're going to bridge this thing.
We're not selling things here, Harold, but we could, Athletes for Israel could use support, from Jewish philanthropy. And so if anybody wants to, learn more about Athletes for Israel, they can go online and find it. Yeah. It's a great organization, but it just helps bring athletes and celebrities and people and that have a voice over there to see it. And so it's great to be a part of that group.
Bruce, I can't get over kind of this it's just this incredible Jew thing you got going on. Like it does. I'm not saying this to kiss your ass. I'm telling you because it is. It's a real thing, and it's palpable even in your interviews. Like you're just like, I'm Mordechai from like when you met with the kids from NCSY. There's just something. It's a response. You're not just blowing steam up somebody's rear end. You're living up to that responsibility and saying, hey, look, I'm not a Talmudic scholar, but I am a Jew. Same blood of the generations flows through me. And I always tell kids this, Bruce. I always say, think about this for 1 second. You have every single Jew you meet from here on out for the rest of your life had an ancestor that had to make a decision to remain Jewish, convert, or die. Yeah. And everyone you meet is someone who in their blood in their body flows the blood of somebody who made that decision. Yeah. I'm a Jew, and my grandfather was a Jew, and his grandfather was a Jew. There's something so great about that, and the fact that you are at the highest level. When you were in the Final Four against Tony, who I really love, it was very difficult for me because
hey man, blood's thicker than water. Yeah.
I'm exactly right. I'm a longtime fan of both of you, and it was to me one of my all-time favorite finals. Simply because you were there and Tony was there.
It was great. But let me connect one more dot. And this may be a little bit uncomfortable, but it is how I feel. And I'm going to connect the dot for you. So you know what? When I went to Hebrew school, and I agree with everything you say, Harold, about the decisions that we've had to make to remain Jewish, and It's not always been easy. It'd be a lot easier to just put up the Christmas lights.
Yeah.
By the way, which I do sometimes, but they're white lights. So, we put them in order and we put some white lights up. But because I married a Christian woman. But here's what I want to say. So one thing I wish I would have learned in Hebrew school. I wish I would have learned in Hebrew school that Jesus was born Jewish to Mary and Joseph. I would have loved to have learned that. I would have loved to have learned that he was a rabbi his whole life. I would have loved to have learned that, you know what he did? He walked from wherever he was to Jerusalem like 6 times a year for the festivals. Like he kept Passover, he kept kosher. Like he lived a Jewish life. Right. So then for me, like to my Christian friends, like, doesn't that kind of make us like, aren't we a little bit more connected than what you're willing to hear? We didn't hear that because obviously we had a choice to make. Now, on the other side, they started in the New Testament. They started with Christ and Christ's crucifixion, and they went on from there. And they didn't talk a whole lot about what all happened before that. And so one of the reasons why I think there has been some level of anti-Semitism is many Christians who want to really eliminate that whole Jew side of Christianity, the Judeo-Christian thing. They don't even want to talk about it. And so that because you know what, if you've grown up and read the New Testament only a certain way, and then you go back and read the Old Testament and say, oh no, don't tell me my God was Jewish. I want to get sick. And so for me, we could have done a better job of connecting there, and they could have done a better job connecting there. And I'm not saying there needs to be any level of assimilation. I'm Jewish. They're Christian.
Yeah.
I wish we recognized the connection. Same thing with Abraham. Abraham loved Ishmael. It says it in the Bible. He loved Ishmael.
Sure.
You know, Ishmael was big and strong and physically he loved it. He had a special love for Isaac too. And so to our Muslim brothers and sisters, look, Abraham's the father of all these nations.
Sure.
We should be able to respect how we went in different directions, but also recognize that we share the same father. Now, that's the coach in me that, as you said, owns being Jewish, but also also wish that we could get along with the folks that don't believe exactly the same way, respect the differences, and be able to live more together in peace.
It's the actual Torah, the old, without the Old Testament, without the Torah, there is no Christianity because there's nothing to stand on. They need the revelation at Sinai. When Moshe brings the tablets down, when God gives the Torah to the Jewish people, without that, there is no stance for people. Everything's on the shoulders of that revelation, the first time God ever spoke to a people. So I get where you're going. And the coach in me, I just think this, Bruce, I think basketball has never had a color. Basketball has never had a religion. Basketball has never had night. You know what it is? It's a hoop, a ball, and a kid. And then, that's what I mean by the ability that you have to bridge this whole thing. Like, to me, I'd much rather talk about why forcing you to close out 2-3 times a possession is a pretty cool idea. But you're just like to swing that back. And yeah. I just so my critics can hear me have somebody different on the show. I love making you come. Like, I think the hardest thing to do in basketball is close out. I think it's the hardest thing to do. I think it's the hardest thing to do in sports. And if you don't believe me, just ask that guy from the Saints who, like, all he had to do was close out on Stephon Diggs. He's going to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Or he's going to the next round of playoffs. Closing out's the hardest thing to do. And the fact that you're playing no middle and you don't like them reversing the ball, even though you're tolerating it, kind of gives you the idea that if I can get you to close out 2 or 3 times, I got you sprinting there or sprinting there, right? So through the closeout, I can get that shot. I'm not even.
Yeah, but one of the things, like I agree about, like I say, transition defense and getting matched up when numbers are advantage is as hard as a closeout. I agree. Teams that close out. So what I think it's important too, though, is it's not just one guy closing out. What are those two guys on either side of the ball doing? Are they in the gaps? Are they being seen? Because look, it's like the parting of the Red Sea. I don't give a shit how good he can close out. You got to go back. But if there's some bodies somewhere, seeing the ball, jump to the ball in the gap, he's less likely to go down there and reverse the ball to the other side, try to go to the other side.
But my point being that ball reversal hurts you. I get your approach because I played that way. Like, listen, my evolution was I was the Jew guy that was like at 42-40. If I was up 43-38 with 4 minutes to go, you were dead without the shot clock. We were going to kill you. And that little 5-point spring. And you never play that way, and I play that way all the time. Then I get this racehorse in Tamir, and I'm like, I have to be an idiot. I have a choice. You know this, Bruce. You have a choice as a coach. You can say, well, I got everybody who plays this way. I got this one guy who plays this way. So maybe instead of bringing him down to the mean, we can elevate everybody back here. Let's play this style of play, get up and down. And they always told me, if you run, you're going to turn the ball over more. And I always believed that when I walked it up the floor until I did it. And then I went, no, we're going to turn over less because we don't have it as much. So when he was a junior in high school, we averaged 88 points a game in high school. So how hard that is. So I'm like, I'm fixing to go, let's, and I really never turned back, even though I know how to coach both styles of play.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to get you off the Jew thing because I love when you talk.
No, we're good. No, let's close. Let's finish up with some basketball.
Yeah, but
I heard Calhoun say this at a clinic one time, and I agree with it so much. You can't be great at everything, so you got to pick out about 4 or 5 things that you're going to be great at. That's right. Whatever it is, and whether it's your drop back defense, whether it's the 3-point shooting, whether it's being on fire in transition, whether it's been a great free throw shooting team, you got to focus on a few things that obviously matter and be great at it. You can't be great at anything unless you're already good at it. So what are you good at?
Right.
I tell kids, work on your strengths. Don't work as much on your weaknesses, because you work on your weaknesses and all you ever do is spend all that time on it and just become just okay. Work on your weaknesses so you can survive, but take that same effort and energy, work on what you're good at, and now become great. Now we got a dimension. Now you got something that helps you be on the floor.
Right. So I just people say, well, he brings guys on it. No, here's a guy who in other words, that's our contrast. But you're just a phenomenal basketball coach, and you've been a phenomenal basketball coach on your own since Southern Indiana that people don't know about, because you were there for almost a decade, right?
I was in Southern Indiana 9 years. Yeah, 9 years.
So I had Adam Ginsberg on here, who was Adam. He was.
Yeah.
So I had Adam on, and nobody knows about the life of an assistant coach. He's doing all this stuff and has all these connections through ball because he worked for great coaches like you did. And so my question for you is, what to just kind of bring it back and kind of close it out, what did you miss about being an assistant coach, or if anything, and what part of being a head coach you sit back and go, boy, I just wish somebody else was making this decision?
No, listen, practices are way more fun being head coach because you're running them. The games are more fun because you're playing. It's like being a catcher or pitcher in baseball. You could stand there in right field and be out there and not get a ball the whole game. But when an assistant coach, sometimes you're sitting there waiting for a drill or waiting for something. Man, you're the head coach. You're like you're pitching and you're catching. So I don't think there's anything I would give back. The key to being a great assistant coach, Adam Ginsberg is one of the best. Make yourself valuable. Like, who does this? Well, Adam does it. Well, who does that? Well, Adam does it.
Yeah.
My son, Stephen Pearl, is going to be a phenomenal head coach someday. And he's been my right-hand man here at Auburn and done a great job. But I've had a great staff. Right now, Ira Bowman, Chad Pruitt, Mike Burgomaster, just hired Corey Williams. I just got a great family of coaches. Marquise Daniels, my director of player. You're only as good as people surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
And I think it's really, really important. But what I would say to an assistant coach is, don't wait to become a head coach until your life depends on it.
Right.
Live and die with the wins and losses. Care as much about those kids like you're the head coach. And what happens is, I think sometimes when head coaches tell you, boy, what a jump it was going from being an assistant to a head coach. I'm going to go back and say, you know what? I don't know that you were a great assistant. If it was that big a jump, man, Tom Davis was large and he was in charge and he was running the show. I cared as much as he did. I worked harder than he did. And when I say I work harder than that, that's because he didn't work hard. You think I was going to let Tom Davis beat me in the office?
Right.
I was never going to let him go home before me. You don't think, he went in the gym at night rebounding for those kids.
That's right.
But that was my job as an assistant coach because he gave me the opportunity of a lifetime.
Right. So my thing about, I think the number one thing, you tell me if you agree or not, that an assistant has to have is loyalty. That's the first thing. If he ain't loyal to the boss, you need to go. Everybody asks me, what do I need to do to get in the coach? Well, the first thing you better do is be loyal. I don't care if you disagree with your coach 100 out of 100. You never, ever are disloyal. That's my first thing. The second thing is, I when I was at UMBC, I was the guy who had to put the stanchions up at 5:30 in the morning because we practiced for some ungodly reason at 5:30 in the morning. Because we never, I always say, why didn't we practice at 7 since we played at 7? Let our bodies get used to doing that. But instead, I guess John Chaney told them to practice 5:30, so Earl practiced at 5:30. So 5 o'clock, I got to put the stanchions up. And you're damn sure I'm going to beat everybody there. And you know what happened? We played Xavier. It's Pete and Skip Prosser and Louis Orr and Bobby Gonzalez. And it's Christmas Eve. So did you stay in? I got nothing to do. I'm not going to movie tonight.
So but you're going to get some Chinese food that night, I guarantee you.
You know what though? That was one of the best nights in coaching that I had, Hank, when I was working there, because I got to, I stayed there with Skip with Pete and them for hours. And then after the team went back to the hotel, Pete's like, you want to come down? And so I did. I just went with them. And then I got when Skip, may he rest in peace, was here. I got to know him when he was at Loyola. He's just phenomenal people. I just love being part of that. And again, it's just because I'm a Jew doesn't mean I can't do this, right? And that's always been my approach. And that's and I look, I know you got to go. I know you've given us more time than you promised us. But Bruce, to me, this is like the coolest thing in the world. I could go on talk X and O with you forever.
Right.
The problem is I don't get a lot of coaches on here who can Jew me too, and that's a really big deal to me, Bruce. Our people we're very small, and we don't have a lot of friends, and and like you said to that coaches group, we actually have to be here for each other. On that note, I'm going to tell you that your friendship with Elliot Simons has been, such a fantastic thing.
Elliot wants me to speak. He wants me to speak at Yeshiva's graduation one day. So maybe that would be a real goal of mine.
Well, two things. Don't bring up the Jesus thing there.
Probably not. That's probably not. But you know what?
And keep the shit to yourself. What I'm saying, I meant the word shit. But I'm saying my point is, I talk to him a lot, and we will discuss things. I said, well, I just got this great text from Bruce. That means a lot. We're a very small group of people in this business, Bruce.
We definitely we got to stick together for sure. And on
behalf, before you finish, I'll let you finish. But I want to thank you for coming on. I'd love to do it again if you have the time, because I'd love to really dig into. My son's gonna give me all this crap because we were like half an hour in the X and O's, and then we went Jewish on it. My son's an X and O junkie. He works for Elliot, so But I want to thank you, on behalf of our people, for what you're doing. Never stop being a voice for Israel. Never stop being a voice for your people. And how proud you are is just too much for me. I love that. I love that.
Harold, thank you. And I appreciate you guys doing this and being a part of it. I think, you know, as far as how I see myself, I'm 63 years old. You know, it wasn't until I was 45 when I got the Tennessee job where I really either elevated in the coaching circles to where people knew who I was, or actually really, quite frankly, financially was in a position where I was actually making a good living. I lost a fortune the first 25 years of my life coaching. Just not being out there. All my roommates, all my college buddies, they were all doing great. And I'm an assistant coach. I'm a Division II coach. I'm you know, struggling along. And it's no big deal. I took care of my family. We did what we got to do. I didn't get into it for the money. I didn't get it for the resources. You know, I just love to be in the gym. I love to work with young people. I love the ministry of coaching. I love trying to, you know, giving the kids the discipline, holding them accountable, believing, seeing into something in them they didn't see in themselves. And then all the while, I went to Boston College, not Boston University. I just wanted to be able to show others that we're cool too. I just want to show others that we love also. I want to show others that we care also. I wanted to break down stereotypes by, you know, I'm a proud American just like you are. And I love my Jewish homeland. I love my faith just like you love your faith.
Right.
Let's have some respect to that. But we're not, but by the way, just in case you're wondering, we're not going anywhere. We're done giving up land for peace. Right. We're done with that. You want to live in peace with us? Great. We would so prefer this. You want to be our enemies? Do so at your own risk.
Yeah, so, hey, Bruce, before you go, I can give you an old gold in my ear quote that I've heard Netanyahu say before too. If the Jews, if the Arabs put down their guns, there'll be peace. If the Jews put down their guns, they'll be dead. There'll be no more Jews. And with that, Bruce, Shabbat Shalom, my friend.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks so much.
Shalom, guys.
War Eagle.
So much. And War Eagle.
Hey, Coach.
War Eagle, right.
I had to get that in, Coach. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Do we need to pimp Yeshiva League Pass before we talk or what?
Because I forgot last time. So thanks for beating me to that. And don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah.
Just a quick recap. One word, wow. And there were just so many pieces in that segment that I thoroughly enjoyed. You know, talking about how coaches come and go, but philosophy and approach remain the same throughout your entire life.
Yeah. Or like that, you adapt what you learn. You know, like he learned from Dr. Tom, and then he adapted it to fit his style of play. Like he wanted to play man to man. He wanted to play zone. You know, and Tom didn't. It's a notorious thing with Dr. Davis. So it's kind of like I you know, it's good for all the critics that I have that I only get guys who are going to, you know, pat me on the back and write what else they say and underscore my stuff. It's had nothing to do with that. I'm a coach first. And Bruce is a great basketball coach. I really wish we'd have had time to get into some locker room stuff. He stayed much longer than we had agreed to. And it was awesome for me. And I hope it was awesome for everybody else. You know, I just think, again, this is my message to kids. I mean, no matter the job, no matter the industry you choose, you can accomplish great things because I'm Kisei Oref, you know, you're a stiff-necked people. And even for kids who are not Jewish listening to this, there's nothing that restricts you from doing anything you want to do. And the only difference is, you know, I was with my grandson a couple weeks ago, and I said to him, I'm going to fix your stinking thinking. And he never let me live that down. Everything I said was like, Pops, I'm going to fix your stinking thinking. But that's really the truth. I mean, because the bad stuff is so much easier to believe than the good stuff. And here's a guy giving you business about the good. Here's the good stuff about you. Once you believe that, and that's what I love about Bruce more than anything else. I mean, outside the fact that he's like unabashedly Jewish. Like that, I love that. While everybody views him as a negative, coaching in the negative, I think he coaches in the positive 24/7. It's just a different way to do it. And I love that he's intense. I love that he holds guys accountable. And I think he's a lot like Coach Davenport, where, I'm doing this for you, not to you. And I love that. It's just, we could have gone on. I wish we would have got more X and O's a little bit. I think I did. I think we were good with that. I would have liked a little bit. Well, you know what? I'm not going to say anything because God willing, we'll have him on again. So, but I hope everybody enjoyed it.
And of course, it goes without saying he's such a mensch. He's great, fantastic. I hope we see him in Arizona next year, winning a national championship.
That'd be great.
Him and Lior Berman.
That'd be great. Hey, Pop, are you there?
I'm here, Coach. Everyone, remember to subscribe to Yeshiva League Pass. Subscribe to the channel.
Oh, so now all three of us did it. And I can confidently say that Coach Pearl and his son Steven are my second favorite Jewish basketball father-son coaching duo behind Coach Harold and Ellie.
That's why you got this job, all right? That's why you got this job. But I think I'm
out of the doghouse now, right, Coach?
Yeah. Well, no, you're still there. I do think. But Pop is there with you, so you're. I do think. It was important for people to hear. Like I just think ball reversal is the ticket for what we do. Bruce doesn't run that. He doesn't run what we run. But for what we do, I think ball reversal is the ticket, and I think forced closeouts, as he said, he addressed it. I love that conversation. I could have gone on for hours with him. I'm just really happy he gave us the time and that we were able to bring it to everybody.
Yeah, this show has really come a long way since we first started, and we're just going to keep taking it to the next level.
We got more to go. 2 years ago, guys playing the national championship or whatever it was. 3 years ago, whatever it was. We're top of the food chain at this point. So, and I think it's a special, unique thing, that we're both Jewish and we're both in the same profession, and we both kind of took no money to coach forever.
Yeah, it's like you said, he's kind of the king of our people when it comes to Jewish basketball coaches.
I think in Jewish coaching, yeah. It's from that standpoint, it's obviously Elliott because Elliott's in the Jewish institution. Right. But
David Platt went to the NBA Finals, but he's kind of been off the grid in the last few years.
Who?
David Blatt. Yeah,
no, I get that. But you're current today. Bruce is kind of top of that food chain outside of Adam Silver. So, it was a great thrill to have him, and I look forward to having him again at some point.
Yeah. So, wow, what an episode of the Harold Katz podcast. We thank Coach Pearl for his time, and we wish the Auburn Tigers the best of luck in the upcoming season. Thanks so much to all of you guys for tuning in. Coach is heading off to Israel. So,
but just before you close it out, we're going to try to broadcast a couple podcasts from Israel, from Israeli guests. So you guys are just going to have to either get up really early in the morning, or I'm going to have to get up really early. One of those two.
I got the 5 a.m. alarm ready to go. But
you better get the 2 a.m. alarm.
We wish Coach Nisiya Tova, and we'll definitely see him on the other side. Thanks so much. Shabbat Shalom, and take care.